there is great job opportunity in Burlington, Vermont. What's going on in Burlington, Vermont?
Pop quiz. Name the best city for work in America. If you guess New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, you'd be absolutely wrong. According to new research from Indeed Hiring Lab, the best cities for work in the United States are in metro areas you least suspect. Here to dive into this with me is Hiring Lab's Director of Economic Research, Laura Ullrich. Laura, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
When you came to Indeed from the Federal Reserve, this Best Cities project was one you wanted to be in charge of. Why? Why is it so important?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dante. I mean, for me, I'm an economist, and every day I spend my day looking at data and trying to find interesting patterns in the data. At Indeed, we sit on a mountain of data, both on labor supply and labor demand. And I thought, why not pair that along with lots of other publicly available data and come up with a list that would help job seekers, but also workers across the country know where are the best cities right now to find a job and to work in the United States.
Yeah, and when we look at that data, we find that the Boston metro area is number one overall, followed by the Washington, D.C. Beltway region. What stands out to you about the top 25? Is there anything that's kind of a through line?
We included 40 different metrics to measure which of these cities were the best cities for work from a worker's perspective. And the cities that rose up to the top were places that, while maybe they were stronger in some areas than others, they were relatively strong across the board.
You mentioned 40 metrics across 6 pillars. Can you briefly explain what those 6 pillars are and why they were important and how they fed this list?
So the first is job opportunity. Are there jobs available to work at? The second is compensation. How much will you get paid for that work? Number 3 is job quality and security. Are the jobs in that metro area generally of high quality? And are people secure in those jobs? i.e., are there not a lot of layoffs? The 4th is career dynamism and mobility. This looks at whether people can move between jobs easily and if there are jobs to move up into. The 5th is work life and flexibility. So this is things like, are there a lot of restaurants to eat at? Is it a great place to live and work overall? And then the 6th is economic opportunity that looks at things like gender pay gaps, but also what is the gap between what you might get paid as a younger worker and older worker. And so these are 6 different pillars, again, 40 metrics embedded within those 6, but we think they're all very much an important piece of the puzzle.
The top 25 has this wide range of population areas. Someone might look at this and think, how can you compare an area like the San Francisco Bay Area with more than 4 million people to one like Charlottesville? How do we compare those places?
The biggest metros are going to look better when it comes to things like compensation than many of the smaller metros. When you create an index that has 40 different metrics and you build something that looks like basically a holistic view of the labor market and what it's like to work in these places, it turns out you can actually compare them really well. And places like Burlington, Vermont can come up to the top 5.
I live in New York. I moved to New York to work. It seems like a great place to work for a lot of people. Not in the top 25 anywhere. What's up? What gives?
Dante, I'm in the same boat. I live in Charlotte. People talk about it all the time. It's a great place to live. I think it's a great place to live. It's not in the top 25. Why not? Because the places you and I live, while they can still be great, they didn't come to the top of the list because they were weak in parts of the methodology. So in some of the pillars we use, some of those 40 factors that I used to build the index, those cities might not be as strong. So New York, for example, you won't be surprised to hear that compensation is strong there, job opportunity is strong. But in some of the other factors in the index, it comes up a bit weaker. So the places that rose up to the top 25 are really places that have strength across the board. Now, they are weaker in some areas than others, but they still have relative strength across the board.
This list was created for workers. Say I'm looking for a job. How can I use this list?
You can sort based on what pillar might be most important to you. So for example, if job opportunity is most important to you, if you're searching for a job right now, you might want to go and sort that column, that pillar by itself and see what comes up on top. And I would look in those places if you're willing to move, if you're open-minded. I have a son that was looking for a job as I was building the index, and you better believe I was telling him, like, there is great job opportunity in Burlington, Vermont. What's going on in Burlington, Vermont? Have you looked for jobs in Burlington, Vermont? So I do think this list can be used really practically for different people. You know, if you're looking to move up in your career, maybe that career mobility and dynamism is the most important to you. You can sort the list by that pillar. So it really can be a different list for different types of individuals. It'll meet you where you are.
Is your son moving to Burlington? Like, is he there now?
No,
like, how did he respond to that?
No, he ended up getting a fully remote job, which is interesting. But then, if you have a fully remote job, maybe that work life and flexibility part is really important to you, right? Like, where are the great cities where I could go have really good work life balance and put myself for remote work?
There are a lot of workers who might look at this list and feel they can't get as much out of it because relocation isn't an option for whatever reason. How can they use it? How can they get the most out of it?
First of all, see where you currently live. Just because you're not open to relocation today, that might be different a year from now. And so kind of planting seeds about interesting places and what cities come up to the top of this list, I think it's of interest to just about anybody.